folks, today's video is going to be about when the hobby stresses you out. We've had a video, you can go check it out there, that was all about Game Master burnout, and I think a lot of the things that we talked about, that got talked about in that video, also applies to players. Might do a future video more specifically geared towards players in general, but today I'm talking more about the stuff in the hobby that can sometimes become a stressor. And this video was kind of inspired by Tabletop Minions. I'll try and remember to put a link to that video. But it's something that I'd actually been thinking about for a while because our miniature collection is kind of had me a bit stressed the last little bit. And that's because it's all over the house. Here, let me show you. There are minis there, and on my shelves, and on the windowsill. I should also note, so there's a box of unpainted minis, another box of unpainted minis, that's like Bones 4, some Bones 5, nope, Bones 3, 4, Critical Role minis, more Bones 4, and minis in another room. Granted, this shelf is not very full. You know, Cthulhu on the bookcase, and some dragons, and another dragon in the dining room, and we even have some minis down here. Ah! Okay, so as you can see, it's kind of like scattered all over the place, and when I actually do go to play an in-person session with miniatures, I feel like I'm going all over the place and I can never actually find the mini that I want. So, I think one of the things that I'm going to tackle next year, in 2020, the year of double advantage, I'm going to try and organize our mini collection and try and condense it all so that it's in one or two places. Especially I might do like all of our unpainted miniatures in one place and all of our painted miniatures in another. I've got a whole bunch on the shelf back here. That's great. I can't fit all of them back there. So I got to come up with a solution for that. And if you're interested in seeing that process, let me know. I'll make a video on it. So if the stuff is stressing you out, I think it's the might be going through and getting rid of some of this stuff. One big thing that helped me is that we got some paint racks. You can see them back here. So that helped with the paint setup. It made it so much easier for me to sit down and paint because it wasn't, I had to pull out the box that had our paints and then I had to sort through them and then I had to go find our paint brushes. They're much more easy for me to get to so that when I do sit down and paint miniatures, something that I would like to get to more often, I'm not like, ugh, I have to go through all these steps to actually do the thing I want to do. Now, some of these things are depending on what space you have. If you can make kind of a dedicated like hobby space in your home, I think that's really nice. But not everybody has that option. So the next thing is unpainted miniatures. I sometimes want to sit down and paint minis, but then I have no idea what mini to paint and no idea where to start. So one thing that I'm going to try doing in the future is I'm going to kind of prep a bunch of minis, because sometimes I have to like prime them or clean them up or stuff like that before I can actually sit down and paint. So I'm going to try to have the mini I'm painting, and then as soon as I start painting that and like while I'm waiting for it to dry, I'm going to prime the next one. So in some ways that's taking away some of the stress of I have so many minis to paint. I run into like option paralysis. I think there's an actual term for that that I can't think of, but where there are too many options, I don't know which one to pick, so I just don't do it. And that's not great because the actual sitting down and painting I do find really fun and really relaxing. So taking away some of that decision I think is going to help me moving forward. I'm also going to try and just set aside a day and time this is my miniature hobby time, because it can be so easy to let all the other things in your life take up all the time, and if you don't protect sometimes that hobby time, you don't do it, and then sometimes the not doing it, for me at least, can be stressful because it's like, well, I have been saying I'm going to finish my Sylvaneth army for a year now, and I haven't, and that is like, kind of makes me not feel good when I stop and think about it. But part of that is because I haven't been able to set aside the time for it. And for me, it's not a matter of I haven't had the time. There have been plenty of times that I've like rewatched some show on TV and just sat there and was on my phone, that instead I could have been rewatching that show and painting a miniature. So I think maybe finding those times that you can kind of say to your family, to your partner, this is going to be my hobby time. So you get that time that you want to go play or you want to go paint, and it's protected, but also you have that to look forward to. And then the final thing is, it might just be time to get rid of some stuff. If you've got too many things and the stuff is piling in and stressing you out, maybe go through and pare it down. Maybe sit down and reevaluate, do you really enjoy this hobby? Maybe you're at a different point in your life and you just don't have the time, or it's not giving you, you're not getting the same amount of enjoyment out of it as you once did, and you're finding something else that's much more enjoyable. It's okay to let go of a hobby. If you've got space, maybe you put that stuff into storage so that if in a couple of years you go, ooh, hey, I want to try getting back into wargaming, or ooh, hey, I think I've got the time that I can dedicate to sitting down and playing D&D every week. Great. If you're in a place that has less space, maybe it's getting rid of that stuff if you really don't have the space to put it in storage and you don't really see yourself going back to it in the future, or you're okay with kind of reinvesting if you ever do. And a lot of game stores actually do buy used games or, painted minis that they'll resell. Most of them you get store credit. I've heard of a couple of them will actually give you cash. It's usually significantly less than store credit. But then you can actually, instead of having a bunch of stuff sitting around that you're like, I'm never going to get to painting those, I don't think I'm going to end up playing this game, and just this stuff kind of closing in on you, you can take that in. Somebody else can then get enjoyment out of it, and you can kind of recoup some money and pick up some new hobby stuff that you might actually use. And going digital for books and stuff like that can help cut down on the stuff. If you can take all of your paperwork and organize that, character sheets and stuff like that. I've got a whole bunch. I've got a folder on my computer that is all my character sheets, and I find for me that's a lot less stressful than having character sheets tucked away all over the place. So this was probably a bit of a rambly video, but just kind of sharing some of my thoughts on how sometimes stuff in the hobby can be a bit of a stressor and possibly some solutions to it. So again, if you are interested in seeing my journey of organizing our miniature collection and coming up with some kind of storage solution for that, let me know in the comments below and I'll make a video on that. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you like it and share it with a friend who also has maybe too much hobby stuff and is looking for ways to de-stress, declutter. A big thanks to all of our patrons, especially Alicia. If you want to support our channel, you can head over to our Patreon page and check out the perks of being a patron. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. We'll see you next time on Roll for Initiative. Bye! And on the windowsill, we